Hi folks, it's Josh coming to you again today with a little video message like I like to do every once in a while. And today, of all days, I've been really called to bring this message to you. And, I don't know why, probably because I've been getting the itch from around and above me. Because I will just say that I'm just a regular guy that has found a pretty awesome path in life, and I'm very grateful for it. With that being said, I want to talk to you today about fear because there's a lot of fear around us. There's a lot of fear around so many things in the media. And, regardless of your opinion about the media, we need to be informed, and whether they make $1 or $1 million off of our fear and our addiction to checking the media and having to look at it and be informed, that's a discussion for a different day. Today's little video is about fear and what fear can do to you and how you can best manage it. And I love the quote from JFK when he said, "All we have to fear is fear itself." And I really believe that. Now, there are a lot of things around us that we should be aware of and that we should be concerned about. How's the presidential election going to go in the United States? There's a sickness that shall not be named going around pretty rampantly right now around the world, and a lot of people are afraid and worried about it. Global warming and other catastrophes on this wonderful earth of ours. And there's a big difference, and I'd love to stress this to you. There's a big difference between being afraid of something and being aware of it. I'll give you an example. Today I went to a grocery store locally, and they have a little salad bar, and I love the salad bar, and I got myself a little salad and went up to the cash register, and I was ready to pay for the salad and ready to eat it. I watched this cashier handle the person's groceries in front of me and take a check from this older lady who wrote a check, put it through the little scanner, and after the cashier put it through the little scanner, she reached down on top of her money box, picked up a piece of bread that was in a paper towel, picked it up, ripped it into two pieces, and then shoved one piece in her mouth. And I'll tell you what, I was aware of that. Was I afraid of it? Nah, I don't think so. I was aware of it. We're nestled in this tiny little pocket of northern New Hampshire and Vermont, and thankfully, we've had none of this awful sickness around us. But what we have had is the regular common cold, and we've had the flu. That's been pretty awful around here, and I thought it was pretty ignorant of this cashier to be eating and right at her checkout line, and two, eating after touching other people's money and other people's checks and groceries and things like that. And that's not fear, that's awareness of just basic hygiene. So there's a difference there. What I did is I took myself to the other line, and even though I had cash in my pocket, I paid with my debit card, so I wouldn't have to exchange any change. I was just in that moment of awareness. But there's a huge difference between being afraid and being aware, being concerned and being worried. And I really appreciate the work that I've done with my ancestors and that I've helped other people do with their ancestors, because I'll tell you what, if you're watching this, you're here because there are people that came before you that were very strong and probably didn't worry incessantly. And we all come from worry warts, I'm sure, somewhere along the line. And I'm sure that, luck plays into this, that we're here because some people just got luckier than others, sure. But we have ancestors that survived the Spanish flu. We have ancestors that survived the Great Depression. We have ancestors that survived war and famine and hunger. And if you have any European descendancy, you have ancestors that survived the bubonic plague, the Black Plague. And in times of those moments where I feel my concern flipping over to worry or fear, I think of my ancestors. I even think of my grandparents. I think of my grandparents and what they would do in these particular situations. And I'll tell you what, I don't believe that they would get afraid. I think that they would prepare. I think they would be strong. I think they would be smart. And that's what we really have to watch out for, especially nowadays, because fear and worry, what that does to your body, wow. Not only does it compromise your critical thinking skills, it compromises your immune system. And that's science. And it's very significant what it does to our bodies and our immune systems. So if you are torn up with anxiety and worry and fear, not only does that not help you think clearly, that doesn't help your body respond to threats as well as it should. One of the mantras that I live by, and again, I'm not 100% with this all the time. I'm human, just like anybody else. A mantra that I live by, and something that came to me a long time ago, is I am a warrior, not a worrier. I am a warrior, not a worrier. And we all come from warriors. We come from people who fought and struggled. And we come from people who are prepared and intelligent. And those are the attributes that we need to cultivate right now. As a psychic medium, I spend a lot of my time with spirit and spending a lot of my time doing spiritual things. But if you've ever had a reading with me, or if you've ever seen me in a group reading or a large session, you'll know that what always seems to come up too is our physical health, vitamins, minerals, exercise, eating healthily, taking care of ourselves, taking care of our body. We are humans having a spiritual experience, but we're also spirits having a human experience. So there's that balance between the material world and the spiritual world. And I don't really appreciate any sort of spiritual folks who can tell you that you can pray the sicknesses away, because that's dangerous and you can't pray the sicknesses away. Sure, positive thinking and being able to manifest, if you will, for lack of a better term, helps us. But that's not at all what we need. We need to be following the recommendations in times like this of people who are authorities in these areas. We need to be washing our hands. We need to be not touching our face. And I'll tell you what, I touch my face a whole lot. I haven't been aware of how much I actually touch my face since this stuff has really happened. We need to be washing our clothes. We need to be preparing for maybe spending some time in our house that we weren't ready for. But we also need to be ready to help our friends and neighbors, our local communities where we live, because that's very, very important. Because there are people around you that will be afraid. And we need to show them, just like fear is contagious, that bravery is also contagious. That if we can be stable and that we can be strong and we can be concerned and aware, that is also catching. So, what I'm talking about here is really a balance between science, which I'm a big believer in, and spirituality, which is also I'm a very big believer in. We have to have one foot in this world and one foot in that world. And if we're too much in that world or we're too much in this world, we're out of balance, and that's a threat to us. I really want everybody to take care of themselves as much as they can, whether it's now when we have this pandemic going on, or just in general when you should be eating well and you should be taking your vitamins and you should be getting some exercise and you should be getting some good sleep and you should be watching the sugars and the alcohols and those things that are going to compromise your immune systems. Those are the things that we really need to be paying attention to. We need to be washing our hands. We need to be appreciating the fact that there are intelligent people and capable people around us taking care of these situations. It's very important to remember that while the fear seems to be fed at us, and there are organizations and news outlets that seem to really benefit from people's addiction to fear, we need to remember that there are also good things going on. They're doing the best that they can to slow the spread of this. That compared to the HIV virus, which wasn't discovered for 2 years after it first showed itself. They didn't figure out what it was for 2 years. They found out what this virus was within days. And there's all sorts of scientific teams and great people working on this. I'm a big believer in ancestor veneration. I'm a big believer in having an altar of ancestors that we can work with and show appreciation to, because I know that they're around us, and I know that they lend us strength, and I know that they help us as much as they can from where they're at. We have to make their job a little bit easier, though, by washing our damn hands and careful of not touching our face. So, the ancestor veneration, you might be part of that school of thought like I am, where you feel like the ancestors are around us and they interact and contribute to our lives. Or you might not be. If you don't think that they're there, if you don't think that they're around us, interacting with us, trying to guide us and help us, I want you to work with them as much as you can still. And the reason being is that imagine those strong people that you came from. Imagine what they would do in scenarios like this. They would be prepared. They would be safe. They would be smart. Think of all the ancestors that went through the Cold War. I don't know if you're old enough watching this to remember the Cold War, but when I was in second grade, I think around 1986 or so, I can remember having to dive underneath desks and drills because they were still worried about nuclear war. That was frightening as a child. So lean into your ancestors, whether you believe that they're around you or not. Lean into them as spirits, lean into them as archetypes, lean into their attributes, lean into their characteristics, lean into their values, lean into their strengths. Those are the things that will help us get through any struggle. I love humans and I love humanity, and I love how we have this knack of persevering through adversity. And I can't tell you what's going to happen with the sickness that will not be named. But I can tell you that the humans around us and the humans that love their fellow man are going to do whatever they can to make sure that this is something that is nipped in the bud as soon as possible. Yeah, our life might get really inconvenienced for a while. I'd rather see these major events and these economic downturns happen versus millions of people dying. And whether you're on the side that, no, this virus is no worse than the flu, or whether you're on the side where you're stocking up and going crazy with the toilet paper in your home, you got to find a balance between those two. You got to acknowledge and make yourself aware of the facts and follow people that are trustworthy and that don't have an agenda and that are not going to benefit from you having fear. That is what we've got to be aware of and be careful of. So, make yourself prepared. Make yourself aware. Don't freak out. When you feel yourself slipping into anxiety or worry or fear, I want you to take a moment and do some grounding exercises. I'm a big fan of that fourfold breath, where you take 4 seconds of inhalations and hold it for 4 seconds and exhale for 4 seconds and hold it for 4 seconds. If you calm your central nervous system down with your breathing, and you also think about those ancestors that came before you, that can only help you. That's what they would want for you. So yeah, we do have a lot of stuff around us to be aware of, but we really have nothing to be afraid of. And I'm a big believer in that, because fear is going to compromise your critical thinking skills as well as your immune system. And just like JFK said, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. So thank you for taking some time, and pass this video along to anybody who you feel could benefit from it. I appreciate everything, you sharing this small little community with me, and I appreciate the spirits and the energies around me that bless me and give me the ability to share this stuff with you. So I hope it serves you well, and I hope it calms you down a little bit, and I hope it makes you realize that while things are happening that we need to be aware of, that we should do our best to not be afraid of them and not worry and not fear.